All right, and we're good. And I do my little congratulate myself because I remembered to hit record. Um, because I can't, so far I have not forgotten, but I'm terrified that I'm going to have some really cool interview and then, so
Yeah.
anyway, welcome to whatever episode this is of Steven Has Questions. Um, as I've been trying to say, part of why I do this is just to also make you aware of what I do. So I'll be inserting some commercials in and blah, 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 and I'll keep them short and blah, blah. And if you enjoy it, cool. And if not, oh well. Uh, Tonight I'm with an old friend of mine, Celia, who does a lot of really interesting stuff, and we'll kind of let that happen as it happens. But we'll begin with the first question, which is, as always, what was the first thing as a kid that you wanted to know everything about? That you thought was like that kept you interested beyond just the day-to-day kid crap?
Um, you've heard me say this before, I'm sure, but I'm intensely into Tetris. I think that got me through the vast majority of my childhood, honestly, and a lot of my adulthood, and a lot of my writer's block, and a lot of my parent block.
It's always good to have those things that you go back to. They're like your safe moments. I shouldn't, we have many times discussed the whole video game situation.
Yeah.
And Donna has certainly been enjoying her coloring app. So like far be it for me to ever judge anybody. Have you seen the Tetris movie yet?
Yes, I did. I did. I loved it.
I know, right? It was far
Yeah,
better
I
than it
thought it
had any
was
right to be.
great. And I don't really think, I never thought about it. I didn't consider. I was a little on the young side when it actually
Yeah,
hit
yeah.
the market. So, I wasn't like, I wonder how this is impacting the
Right, right.
economies. But, as an adult, it was an interesting thing to be like, oh, they're making a movie about Tetris. What's that going to be all about? So I was, happy to see that.
Yeah, I
Easy
really,
in
I
my
really
life
enjoyed it.
everywhere.
I know a certain amount of it's fictionalized, but just even the parts that weren't the core essence of the story. And yeah, I think anytime,
Hmm.
from one person turns into a global thing, that's always pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um, when I met you, we were both swimming around in the sewer of the local Baltimore scene,
Yeah. Good
and
times.
we talked about music, and the one of the very first things you ever said to me was,
Mm.
"I'm in a chick version of Guns N' Roses."
That sounds accurate.
Yeah,
That sounds like something I would say. That's on brand.
very much so. And no, I mean, that's one of those things. It's like you were always just a powerhouse of just energy and ideas and stuff. Like you driven, you know. Um, so tell us about that. I mean, you actually did quite well in a very short period of time within the market that you were working in, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, we did okay. We started off just doing open mic stuff, having fun. I was a pretty young, God, we babies
Mhm.
when we met. I think, God, I think I met you when I was maybe 21, somewhere around there, maybe younger. But yeah, I mean, and by then I had been playing on the scene for a couple of years. I think you guys had been around for a bit longer. I'm not
Yeah, but
sure.
you guys were definitely doing far more local stuff because, like, we were all figuring out all of our bullshit. The band
Hmm.
was called Hot Honey Magnet, which,
Yes.
in retrospect, I came to really get, and I was like, "Oh, I get that now." That,
But Stephen.
well, I know, but like I wasn't medicated, and I hadn't quite developed all of the post autism awareness that I do now, where I can like much less literal,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like, and you went out and did some like you did like Lilith Fest and
We did the Women in Rock tour. We did, I don't know how long it ran, but there was this contest called Pantene Pro V, because ladies and hair.
right. Yeah.
And so we were on the first season of that. We did not win.
Was that like a TV
Well,
show?
I think it went on to be like a contest they had a few times.
Mm.
It was like you send in a tape or whatever the hell it would have been in whatever year that was. And, if they like you, they'll make you a finalist in the thing. And then you go to New York and you play the dumb show, and who is it going to be? And it wasn't me. And then I was like, well, that's that. And then moved along
It's funny how when
to the
you're
next slum.
young starting band and you think all of these things actually are going to help you or something like that, like those. We have gathered a whole bunch of representatives of these record labels, and if you pay X amount of money, you can come and perform in front of them, and you'll be your big break or whatever. And it's like, because that always works for everyone.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way, I guess. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time thinking too much about those days.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like 2 lifetimes away.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That was, it certainly is not my intention to dwell much on it, but I was kind of just
no.
I was just thinking about back in the day, as the kids say, and so. But but you have now gone. Kind of the reason I specifically wanted to talk to you about this is because you're doing something that many of us in the goth scene find very interesting, which is
I've heard that about you guys.
Working with communing with the dead. In that you're a mortician, and
I am. I don't think I should talk about where I am specifically.
Okay. Yeah, no, wouldn't expect.
Yeah, no.
Like normally with these, I'm like, hey, if you want people to find you, how do they do that? But I can definitely.
Yeah, I don't. I'd rather not have anyone find me, honestly.
Right.
If you need to find me, that's not great.
Well, yeah, I guess it's not you finding you, them really, them finding you, yeah. But yeah, no, absolutely, and I wouldn't expect that. But how does that work? How's the qualifications to even get to start doing that become a thing? School.
Yeah, school starts it. For me, it was a transition. I was a musician. I was doing music full time. I was all over the place, just playing shows, playing guitar, just being a kid, and then I decided to start a family and move away from the music scene. And when I had my daughter, I was studying accounting and working bookkeeping crap. I was just like, I need a job that I know I will have since I want to have this kid. So I was doing that and wound up working in a funeral home, just running the office, and became more and more involved in the families and talking to the families. And then I felt really that is where I should be, that I should, that music was great. And it was fulfilling for what it was, where I was, when who all the was. It was very much where I needed to be. But as time moved on, being a mortician is actually where I needed to be. And this is where I do the most good that I can do,
Yeah.
And I just lucked out. So you start out, a lot of the times just having a hunch that you should do it. And then you find yourself going to school. And here in Maryland, that's really CCBC here in Baltimore County. And then from there, you hopefully get an apprenticeship at a funeral home. And at the end of your apprenticeship, you can stay at the funeral home. You can go as a new licensee to another funeral home. That's all something that gets determined usually when you enter into your agreement with your apprenticeship in the first place. Or
are those relatively difficult to get? Because I imagine there's a finite number of funeral homes.
It can be. It can be hard. I'm female Axl Rose. you know. So I needed an apprenticeship. I needed it badly. The funeral home that I was working in as a funeral assistant could not sustain my position, and I needed my apprenticeship. Like, I'm almost done with school. I
Right.
needed it. And so there's a funeral home that's local to where my home is. And I literally just called them up and was like, hey, I need an apprenticeship. I'll take any position you've got, but I need an apprenticeship. And they were like, okay, well, we're not really hiring for one, but, come in and talk to us. And I went in and I talked to them and we hit it off and stuff. And, but he was like, and I'm sorry, I just don't really have a spot. And so I was like, okay. He was like, I can bring you on as a, maybe, probably not. And I was basically just like, okay, well, I will see you on Monday because I work here now. And he was like, you're very funny. I'm like, no, I mean, pretty much I work here now. I just work here now. And I did. I started on Monday.
You were nice to me. Now you own me.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, you're gonna love me. Just let me in. It's gonna be fine. It's going to be fine. Just let me in. It's going to be fine. And so, but they can be hard. If you're, you're right. It's finite, and it's a small community, and everybody's fighting for the same little things. So it can be hard, but they're out there. You just have to look and like be vigilant about it. Pay attention to your calendar. That little Tetris game in your mind of like, this has to fall in exactly where I need it to fall in order to get to this next level. Like it's got to happen. So you got to stay on your shit.
Right.
So,
we were talking earlier before we started this about like how you do have to like really learn to change from, I don't know, a general fuck up to being actually grown up and paying attention. I remember for me, part of the impetus for me changing was going out on tour that first time and kind of going, oh, this is the first time everything I know how to do is being used. I want to keep doing that. And in order to do that, I need to start thinking 6 months or a year in advance how that's all going to come together. And that was, kind of the beginning of all of that. Like, maybe this is, if I want to do this thing, I actually do have to actually do it. So,
yeah. That commitment factor.
I remember reading somewhere that a lot of funeral homes present this idea of being independently owned because they have a name or something, but it's actually like a large corporations that will own numbers of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. There's some pretty big ones out there that kind of gobble up the smaller guys, and they'll keep the staff on, or sometimes they won't. It's a one thing to the next kind of thing. But I haven't personally worked for one, so I can't really speak to the overall culture. Right. I've managed to stay independent because I just like the feel of an independent funeral home. It has its own risks, but it has its own reward, and I prefer the independent feel. And so, that's where I tend to stay. But honestly, like of the funeral homes that I am involved with and the ones that I'm around, I don't know any bad ones, even the ones that are corporate. So it's not to say that like, oh my God, you shouldn't use corporate. I mean, like you have to go where you feel the safest and the most comfortable. That's the most important thing. And if you feel cared for where you are, then that's where you should be. Far be it from me to be like, oh my God, unless I genuinely know that like something is fucked up there, then, And
anybody watching, I wasn't trying to imply that is even necessarily a bad system, but it's mostly just as with all these other ones that I've done, if I just don't know anything about it, I just have a lot of questions about how trying to feel my way into how it all comes together. So is it? I don't know why, but I guess again you have these kind of weird preconceptions in my head. Something that's independent like that, it's like a family business. Is that the case with you guys? I imagine it's got to be very insular. It can't be that many people that work there.
Yeah, we're a pretty tiny firm. We're not terribly big. It was family owned. The original owner still owns it, but none of the kids work there anymore.
Mhm.
But it's all just free agents now. All
Is
just
it all
gunning
made
for the
on
man
site?
now.
Like the crematorium and everything else that you do, is that all on site in the building?
No, so we use an independent crematorium too. So we
Hmm.
use a whole different place offsite from us.
How so? I guess can you walk me through the process from here's this has happened. We have somebody who has died, and the family comes to you. Like I guess that's the beginning of it.
Yeah, so pretty much you call a funeral home. And well, depending on how someone died, because even then, every circumstance is different. If you've just found someone or someone has an accident, then obviously you want to call 911. But if you're dealing with like a hospice situation, then you call your hospice, and then generally hospice calls the funeral home. And then usually the funeral home will call the family and say, "Hey, are you guys ready for us to come?" Because some families need some time. There might be other family members coming in, or they just need the time. Everybody approaches their grief in a different way.
Hmm.
So, we always call and just make sure that they're ready for us to bring that person into our care. And then we do, if they're ready.
Hmm.
And after that, it's a matter of getting arrangements made for the family to come in and really talk about what we're going to do next.
Hmm.
Are we doing cremation? Are we doing a green burial? Are we doing a traditional burial? Is there going to be a mass? All those things. And then we do whatever those things are.
I'm writing notes because I want to come back to something on that.
Sure.
But so what is the just for a traditional burial, like just actually just putting somebody in the ground and they're in kind of shape that they can have, say, an open casket or whatever. Uh, what is the physical process that goes with that?
So if we're doing an open casket, most funeral homes are going to want to do embalming.
Hmm.
And so the embalming process, simply put, it's displacement.
Hmm.
You're replacing as much of the blood with embalming chemicals as you can. That's the most simple way to put it. As far as the intricacies of that go, I'll be very honest with you. That's not my wheelhouse. I
Hmm.
can do it. I'll do it if you want me to, but and I do okay. Like I do a perfectly fine job. It's
Hmm.
just not. It's not you'll. It's not what I'm drawn to.
Hmm.
The you'll find, like, as you meet more funeral directors in your life and morticians in your life, like, we're often drawn to one side of the fence or the other. You can do both, but you generally prefer either being an embalmer or being an arranger.
Hmm.
That's it. I'm sure that there's everyone in between, and
Right,
no
of course.
one's black and white. But like, I feel like if you ask yourself at the end of the day, which do I like to do more,
Right.
you're going to probably have an answer, and it's not going to be, oh, I love them both equally.
Hmm.
So for me, I'm an arranger. Like,
Hmm.
I like to be in the room with the families, making these arrangements, helping them with these decisions, walking them through all the bumps that they
Hmm.
need to be walked through.
Right.
You know.
That must require just an incredible pool of empathy.
Stephen, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Right. So as always, you can find prints, original artwork, T-shirt, tarot deck, whatever else we're selling at any given time at egolikeness.bigcartel.com. You can find all the latest news about stuff, egolikenessband.com. We are on Bandcamp, egolikeness.bandcamp.com. Stoneburner is stoneburnerofficial.bandcamp.com. All of my projects are under Wolfcore Records. So it's wolfcore-records.bandcamp.com or stephenarcher.bandcamp.com, etc. We're pretty easy to find. You can find our books on Amazon. We're published through Raw Dog Screaming Press. Ego is currently on Metropolis Records. Stoneburner is currently on Cop International. And we're also pretty easy to find on the social networks, where they're under our names. Stephen Archer, Donna Lynch on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Ego Likeness, Art and Music with little underscores between each letter, or between each word. And then Donna's got us on Bluetooth. Donna's got us on Blue Sky as well. This is like the 5th of these I've recorded, so this is the one I'm using.
Okay. Hey, buddy, go. You better go. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
My mother called and with all the fucking... Hold on. Okay. Sorry. My mother called and with all the bullshit going on today, she never calls me, but everything's fine. Sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. We all have lives.
Lord.
Everything. So, yeah, no, I got it. Inevitably, one of my...
Commercial break.
Sends me messages that will pop up while I'm in the middle of these things. I'm just like,
come on, I'm trying to talk over here.
So anyway, what I was saying was that so in order to do that, in order to engage with these people, you must have just an incredibly deep empathy pool that you have to be able to pull from in order to be present.
Yeah, you definitely do. I think for me, it's like I'm almost like two people because like in my real and active life, I'm female Axl Rose, right? I'm loud,
hanging from the ceiling, and yeah,
right, just causing problems nonstop, and being crazy Celia K, and but in my work life, I'm very, very serious. Like what I do is incredibly serious. Like this is something that you can't undo if you fuck it up.
Right.
So do it right, and that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but my standards are really high. So by the end of my day, I'm usually on the tired side. Like if I've had to meet with families, if I've had to do funerals and like really be present all day, then by the time I get home, I'm pretty beat. And then it's right to like, I'm just going to watch TV. I don't have the energy to really do a lot of things. Like my life is very much like, here is a pocket of time. If you want to see me, this is the pocket of time.
Right.
Because the rest of my time is going to be spent dedicated to my families. I spend a lot of my personal time still managing family stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I have my own family, who I want to see and spend time with. And then I need my own time. So I'm not absolutely crazy in the middle of all of this. So my personal life is very much just like, yes, we can do these 3 hours, but it's got to be on this day. And if you can't do it, then say it now. Because if you're late, we're not going to be friends for long.
I would, you try and empathy again, trying to put yourself put myself in that position and thinking about not only is it an empathy issue, but for someone with ADD, the idea of you have to kind of get out of your own fucking head, which is a whole other skill set, just remembering that, hey, none of this is about you at all, so that seems very intense.
That's a skill that you hone over time. I'm not saying that that everyone doesn't matter, but not everyone sticks as hard as the others. Like there are some, like I never go into specifics because it's so intimate between all the parties, that I don't go into specifics, but there are definitely cases that affect me on a deeper level than others. And there are definitely cases that stick with me on like a more trauma related aspect as well than others, where it's just like, my God, it's just fucking horrible. Like there's no other way to put it, is that that's a terrible thing that's happened. And it's hard to leave that at work sometimes. Some of those are hard. And as you move through your own life and you hear these stories and you're like, my God, that reminds me of this horrible thing. And you just move along because you're not going to tell other people's stories, you know? But it can be tiring. I'm sorry, I probably wandered way off our question.
No.
But, you know,
this whole thing comes down to honesty, and that's what this
okay. Yeah, you know, it can be really tiring. Like you do learn, like that is not my personal loss. Like you do feel it. It's empathy, you know. It's like, God damn it, that sucks. I can't do anything about what happened, but I can do something about what happens next. I can do things for a grieving mom that other people can't do. I can do things for someone who's lost their brother that other people can't do. And at the same time, I can do things for the person who has passed that they can't do for themselves. And so like all of those things are things that I can do to make things, at least this little part that has to happen, better. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned green burials. That to me seems like a fairly new concept. What are the options for that?
Yeah, new and old.
Well,
yeah. You know,
it's the original concept, but yeah.
It's been pretty popular on the West Coast for a while. It's only beginning to take root here. You know, in Maryland we have a green, well, they call it natural. We're try to move away from green because green becomes so commercialized that it sort of takes away from what the actual goal is. So it's like a habit that you try to get into of saying natural, or I'm trying to get into of saying natural, because it really is natural. It's not green. Like when you think about it, like when you think about green, or when I think about green, a lot of the times it's something that's processed.
Like it's a brand.
You know, it's like, oh, this was made with something.
Yeah. It's like it's a branding thing at this point, as opposed to just how it works.
Yeah, instead of like, I literally want to be rolled in a sheet and put in a hole in the ground. Like a lot of people will say that. Like this is what that is. That is the opportunity to do exactly that. You know, without any embalming, without any chemicals, without a vault protecting an expensive casket. It's just a shroud or sheet or whatever, and the ground. So it can be as simple as that, or more elaborate, where, you know, you have like wicker casket, or, you know,
something that's going to
pine box, or, you know, whatever people think of when they think of in the dirt. No metals, no plastics.
A sky burial, which I just don't think is ever going to become a thing here, unfortunately. Failing that, I want to get blown up, which I also think is probably to happen.
Yeah.
But, I won't.
Probably not in whole form. We could probably burn you down and blow that up.
Well, there you go. We can go the Hunter S. Thompson route and just.
Yeah, that's the best we could do.
That's that's all right. That's all right. Particularly if I can have it pointed somewhere really obnoxious and like, just why are there ashes all over me? You know, that would be funny. High humor value in the execution is always a plus. So, yeah, it's I'm trying to navigate through my questions or my thoughts on the questions in a way that's respectful, without like, because I want to respect you and you not wanting to get too into details about a lot of this stuff. So I'm trying to kind of think of the best route to go with it, and I'm still not exactly sure. Is there something that I guess you would suggest for people again, with this whole like, hey, we're adults now. We're our Gen X people and people younger. And eventually we'll have to go through with this for people we care about. Is there
Mm-hmm.
anything that you would suggest that is a good way to prepare for that for other, like for your parents or whatever, like that to get in order to understand about the system?
Yeah, honestly, the best advice that I can give you if you're not having the conversations is to just start having the conversations.
Hmm.
Like, we're a crazy death avoidant culture. We don't like to talk about it, so we don't.
Hmm.
And then at the end of the day, that's a mess. Did dad want to be cremated? Oh, I don't know. I think he hated it. No, he told me he wanted to. He never told me that. Like, okay, so what are we going to do?
Right.
Because we've never had the talk. You might say like, "Oh, we did have the talk. I told you I wanted you to drag me out to sea and feed me to the sharks." That's not the fucking talk,
Right.
dude. You know what I mean? Like the talk we just had of like, I want to be blown into space. Okay, well, that's great, but I can't actually do that.
Right. Yeah, of
You
course.
know?
Yeah.
So, it's like that's just the bare bones is just
Hmm.
saying, "Hey, what what do you want to do? What do you want me to do with you? If I outlive you, what do you want me to do with you?"
Right.
Like I've had to say to my wife, like, no, seriously, like, what do you want me
Right.
to do with you? Specifically me as your wife,
Right.
me as your mom, me as your daughter,
Hmm.
me as who, whatever that relationship is. If you're the one who's going to be responsible, start having those conversations. They suck and they're hard, but
Right.
like get it out of the way and then it's done. But be a step beyond that is like do a will.
Hmm.
Fucking God, somebody just write anything down. Just take the steps to like easily file a will. That's a big help to people who are surviving, you
Hmm.
know? Even if you think you don't have anything, you probably do.
Right.
You probably have something that someone's going to have to deal with.
Right.
And just a simple will of just like, I leave everything to who the fuck ever. A human, a real person, not your cat.
Right.
Like people do all kinds of funny things because we're young and we do funny things and it's funny. But then we get old and we're like, oh fuck, my beneficiary on my 401k is my parrot. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
But outside of that, if you like, we are our group of people are going through three different things right now. And like the big thing, one, what are we going to do about mom and dad?
Hmm.
Where are we going to put them? Are we going to live with them? Are we still living with them? If I'm still living with them, what does that mean? Like, you have to start thinking like, this is not going to last forever. This is not, it's not stasis. We're going to move.
Hmm.
So like, what's going to happen next? And if what's going to happen next is some kind of healthcare situation where they're going into a nursing home, you're going to have to consider like, how do we get them there? Do we need to spend down? What are we going to do with their assets? And like a really good way to assure that things will be a smooth transition when everybody is right now, no one's dying, no one has just died. Like everything is cool. I can look at you and say, what do you want me to do? And we can put that plan in place.
Hmm.
And that way, when the death does happen, that part's already done.
Hmm.
And if you've gotten a hold of a funeral home, your funeral director will walk you through every single option if you want them to, you know,
Hmm.
and just figure out, do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? That's first two right out of
Hmm.
the gate. I mean, there are other options, but right now where we are, those are the big options.
Hmm.
And if so, where, when, do I want a ceremony? Do I want this? Do I want that? Make all those decisions, have those conversations. It's tough to
Hmm.
do when everyone's crying, but what we're dealing with our parents is like having those conversations with them can be really hard. A lot of us don't have good conversation or good relationships with our parents. You know, a lot of people find that to be a significant struggle,
Mhm.
but it's still something that you need to have at least a small attack plan of like, all right, I know that I can't talk to my mom about this, but when she dies, I'm going to call this funeral home
Mhm.
and we are going to do whatever. You know, like at least think about it on your own if you know that you're going to be the one that has to make that decision and that's going to fall on you when it comes. Do a little footwork now while you're clear-headed and
Mhm.
you can focus a bit. The other thing that we're dealing with is our kids.
Mhm.
Like we have all these fucking kids everywhere and like I'm not that old, but damned if I don't feel it sometimes. And doing what I do, honestly, sometimes I feel really fragile.
Mhm.
And you know, I'm a cancer survivor, and that makes me feel fragile sometimes. And so it's like I have an obligation to my own kid to
Mhm.
make sure that my will makes sense and that my wishes are understood. Even though I'm the funeral director,
Mhm.
you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm having these conversations. Like, I mean, I guess female Axl Rose probably does, but you know, I guess it kind of
Yeah.
guarantees that I'm having them, but
Right. There's the
you
work
know,
person and then there's the home you, and I imagine there can be differences in that because,
mhm,
one thing is I go there and I'm the adult and that's cool. And I come back home and all I want is like a cheesesteak, so.
right, right. That I don't have to eat over a trash can because I'm running around crazy.
Right. Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then we have like the mortality of our own kids that we're always afraid of.
Right.
Like I don't, and well, maybe that might just be from my perspective. I don't know. As a mortician, I'm kind of always like, you could die. That could kill you. Watch out over there.
Right.
Ooh, that bruise looks bad. You know, like, you know, with your kid, you're just like, oh God, oh God. Anyway, I assume. But for me, I've definitely been, I'm always low key anxious about everyone that I know just dropping dead because I see so many people just suddenly die,
Right.
you know, that I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, I could just drop dead in the shower tonight, you
We had a
know?
very, very close friend recently just die at the grocery store.
It's
It,
it's fucking scary.
she was fine and then she was dead. And it's so strange, and to imagine, I guess you can't, but yeah, it's there, it's real, it happens. I mean, it won't happen to me because I'm immortal, but everybody else,
Yeah, duh.
other people, all data tells me that I'm going to be fine.
So
So
far, so good.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know, I've been milling around in this vocation for a long time, for a long time. And when I was engaging families and dealing with death when I was young, you know, the people who died who were my age died because of something crazy, you know, like overdoses or murder or a suicide or a car accident, you know, just something crazy, like like
Yeah,
usually not a natural circumstance. You're just
misadventure.
young kids, you know. And as I've grown older and I'm signing death certificates now, and I'm signing death certificates of people who are my age, and it's just like, oh, they walked up the stairs too fast. And I'm like, well, fuck me.
Right.
Like I like, you know, it's scary. Or
Mhm.
I'll see people who had the cancer that I had and didn't make it.
Right.
That's scary.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely a job that makes you reflect.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Um,
yeah.
this is me showing my ignorance. Are you actually involved with wills as the funeral director? Is that just, or is it just from a here's what we want to do? But are you involved beyond that, or is it just the logistics?
So a lot of the time it's what, so a will tell me, like, for sure
Mhm.
what we're supposed to do. And that's what usually is the biggest help for me. Like the legal side of it, like I'm certainly not a lawyer, you
Right.
know. I'm no attorney. But like if I have a piece of paper in front of me that's saying like, yes, I want to be cremated, and the family's like, I'm not sure what we should do, I'm going to be like,
Right.
right there, it's right here. But more and above that, it really is, what concerns me is the family's state,
Hmm.
like how, where the people are emotionally when I'm meeting them.
Hmm.
And I I can't say that, oh my God, if you have a will, your family's going to grieve so much less. But I can say, if you have a will, they're not going to guess at what the fuck you wanted to do, you know. And I can say that that's, and you know, if you've made a plan with a funeral home, I can say that they don't have to worry that they're making the wrong decision,
Right.
and they don't have to fight among themselves about what to do or money or any of that stuff. You know, a little bit of planning goes a long way. And you know, just my main concern is helping these people manage this grief through this really tender time.
Hmm.
And you won't be able to do that, but you can do these little things to sort of help them along, you know?
Yeah. You were talking about gauging the emotional state that they were in. Since I say, I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. Um, does that change? Does the emotional state that they're in change where in the process from getting from point A to point C you are? Like, do you kind of know that, like, okay, I need to pull back and give them more time to get to their own place where they're okay and they're ready for this, or
Yes and no. I mean, there's a little bit of kid gloves of like, hey, you know, let's take it easy. But sometimes, like, my job is to kind of get you there.
Mhm.
My job is to my job is to get you there, you know,
Hey, let's
whether
all
you want to
remember
go
why
there
we're
or
here.
not.
Yeah.
Kind of, you
Yeah.
know, like, you know, there are times where we will be at a church and it's an open casket or something, like a visiting, or we're getting ready to leave the funeral home to go to the cemetery, and the people do not want to leave their loved one. They don't want to have
Right.
the casket closed. They don't want to take that next step because that step is one of the last steps,
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
they
Then you have to
can't
remember that this has
leave
happened.
the room where they're seeing their person. They can't go
Hmm.
before a cremation. You know, when those things are happening, you know, that stuff is hard. And part of my job is to say like, hey, I am so sorry. I'm sorry, I'm choking up. I'm so sorry, but like, you have to go.
Hmm.
That's a hard thing to say to people.
Yeah.
And I get emotional because it's a big responsibility, and you
Hmm.
really should care.
Hmm.
Like if you don't care, then you're in the wrong place.
Right. You mentioned, and I guess I just never really thought about it, but you mentioned that it could be in a church or whatever. So there could be a moderate amount of transportation. So from wherever the body starts with,
Yeah.
goes will go to you or to someplace for embalming and then back and then maybe also to a church and then to a cemetery or to a
Yeah.
crematorium or something. So there must be a decent amount.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a decent amount of dead people around you all the time.
Yeah, I remember about this at one point about how, like, yeah, there are bodies like just being transported all over the place
Yeah,
all
just
the time.
constantly. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. You know, because wherever you've passed away, you got to get to the funeral home. Once you're at the funeral home, Sometimes you'll go to church and then to the cemetery, or you might go to a different, like if your funeral home has multiple branches, you might go one place for embalming and then go back to wherever you're going to be viewed and have your funeral out of. There's going from wherever your funeral service was to the cemetery or to an airport to a whole nother funeral home, like people everywhere.
Oh, and there's somebody else talking. Oh, that was nice. I actually just got a text from the guy who runs my label saying, thank you for doing this thing that you just did, or that you did a while back. So that's cool.
Cool.
Okay, there I am. I locked up for a second. But it's just nice being appreciated.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm trying to get back on track here. I know that there's people can buy plots and things ahead of time, but there is a significant financial burden to that. I guess I assume there are systems in place to help you, pay it down and things like that. I mean, but how much do you do? Like, what's your base level for service just to do that?
Really depends where you are. It really depends. It varies so widely depending on what you want to do, how involved you want it to get. A lot of people are really leaning more towards cremation now, and that cremation cost can be anything from around $1,000 on up, depending on how elaborate you get. Because you can have a whole traditional funeral, be embalmed, go to church, have visitation, do the whole thing, and then just be cremated instead of going to a cemetery. So like that can get crazy expensive depending on all the banks and baubles that you decide to throw into the mix. So you could very easily get to $20,000, $25,000, even with a cremation if you're really doing it up. But like, I don't know. I wouldn't know what the average is in this area. I guess probably around 2,000 for like the whole show, like doing the whole
I guess
urn and everything.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And I'm trying to think of where to go with this. This is one of those things where I feel that if I don't ask it, somebody's going to come along in the comments and ask it. I have always I am not a huge believer in anything really, but I actually do know somebody who worked in a funeral home who felt things happen around them, and however they presented it was like, just go into the light, Have you had any experiences that would lean towards it one way or the other?
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. I'm super skeptic. So
Yeah.
I don't really feel things. I don't see things. I don't hear nothing weird has really ever happened to me. I don't have any horror stories of like then the body sat up or, any of that crazy shit. It's just, it's just, to me, it's just a building that I go to every day. And, some parts of that building have decedents in them, and they're just there. I talk to them. They don't talk back.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So actually that brings up a good question. Can you talk to me about the facilities that are there? I mean, you've got to have mass storage for X number of bodies. Do you
Bigger
have
places do. Yeah, bigger places have, a lot more area. If you're at a funeral home that has very high call volume, they're probably going to have refrigeration units that are pretty big, or storage areas like where they can have people casketed and waiting to go in service. They're going to have room for that. I've never really worked at a firm that's crazy big. Where I am now, we don't do like a ton of calls a month. It's very manageable with the small staff that we have. And so for us, our facility is also pretty small. Our cooler is on the smaller side.
Is it one thing that everybody goes into, or like, because in the movies you see the wall with all the...
Oh yeah. No, so those do exist. I've seen a few of them in real life, but not usually in the funeral homes. Like, because a lot of funeral homes are retrofitted from some other house or whatever, various other establishments. And so, like, you just, a lot of places will buy a cooler that they'll come and install. And then it's just like, there's my cooler, and it's just like a door, and it might have 2 drawers or a door, and it has 4, or just like an open space where you just roll someone in on a cot. Everybody's cooler is a little bit different. People will keep tables in there. There's regulations, and as long as you've met that regulation, you're in good shape.
Yeah. So, and the purpose is just to keep them cool, but not to freeze them, because you don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, just to temporarily sort of delay some of the decomposition it's going to happen. And I mean, embalming is really the same thing. It's just that the temporary is a lot longer than refrigeration. But, it's just a way to assure that, like, hey, this person's going to stay in good shape for this short amount of time that we need for the family to be able to come and see them, or until they can be embalmed, or if whatever's going to happen until they can be cremated, or just a short period of time to be able to hold someone.
I have seen people make stinks about embalming as far as like environmental issues, things like that. How long does that keep somebody around for?
I don't really know. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm sure at some point in mortuary school they taught me that, but I'm like, okay, I don't need to know that, because I'll be good and dead if I'm embalmed. So,
we've got property here, and a friend of us wanted the bones from their dog, and so we buried it on the property. And I'll tell you, like, in the year that they were down there, it was still without any sort of, it was still just not a lot of air getting down there that deep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even without that, it was quite some time. So I imagine between being that and being in however the coffin is built.
Yeah, and then you're inside of a vault on top of that, and then buried. I'd imagine I'd imagine a few hundred years. I can't imagine it would be, because that tissue is so fixed. I don't know, man. I'm not an embalmologist. Oh shit, I am.
An embalmologist. How many people do you process on average? A week or whatever.
It's not like a steady thing. Right. There will be weeks where we'll just kind of wait and wash the cars, and wait some more and wash the cars, and then there are weeks where it's like, oh, we are way too busy, and you're going to work through your day off, and you're going to work through your weekend off, and you're going to be here late, and you're going to be here early, and it's just going to be a long couple of weeks, and we'll get through it, but it's a long couple of weeks, so it's like, sometimes I see no one, sometimes I have 3 or 4 families that I'm juggling, sometimes I have 8 families that I'm juggling. It really is unpredictable. It's one of the things I like about it, is that it's not ever the same. No 2 families are ever the same. And so, you can see family after family after family, and everyone's going to be different. And so it's keeps me going. Right. It's the no monotony,
So I was just thinking about the various types of demise, and from people that are just look like they're sleeping or whatever, to people who have gone through something really horrible. I imagine, is there any, like, let's say something is through a car accident or whatever, and they end up, first at the hospital and then go to you. Is there any processing that is done before it goes to you, or do you have to just deal with the mess?
Right. So a lot of the times, if there's like an accident like that, you're probably going to be going to the medical examiner. And so, I mean, as far as like cleanup goes, you're bathed, you're cleaned up, the autopsy's done.
Oh, right.
And, they'll put your parts with your parts as best as they can. but all of that fine detail of like trying to fix whatever the damage was, that's all done by your embalmer.
Okay.
Yep, all those pieces
All
were
right.
put back together by that magical person, not me.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing skill. What little I have read about it is just a remarkable thing to do.
Honestly, like like I say, I am not an embalmer. Like, I mean, I can,
Mhm.
but I'm not an embalmer. But I have met some people who are just like it is an art,
Mhm.
to be able to do that and do it well it's a form of art. And I can tell you there's just some people who can just do magical things where it's just like, oh my God, the family is going to be so relieved.
Mhm.
Or, because when bad things happen to us, because of the Hollywood, the TV factor, the movies, the horror movies, you think like, oh, this bad thing happened to this person, and your brain is like, boom, this is what that looks like.
Right.
Like, oh, it was a gunshot. This is what this looks like. Or this happened or that happened. Oh, I know exactly what that looks like. So, you're bracing yourself to not only see someone that you love as gone, but also to see them in a horrific state. And
Right.
so, like, that person who can go and sort of mask that is an angel, and
Mhm.
can also, like, I mean, just some people can just work wonders. It's, do amazing things. So it's cool. I wish I could, but
Right.
I just I'm not patient.
Um, so, and then there is a difference, of course, between autopsy and embalming, which I think in my head, and I imagine for a lot of people, there's kind of a little bit of this weird crossover. But embalming is literally just like all they're doing is injecting preservatives, right? They're not, or are they also going in and opening you up and
No, so we try to open you up as little as possible. Like, if you're not already open, we try not to open. But, small incisions will be made because we have to let the blood out in
Mhm.
order to put the chemicals in.
Mhm.
So, that's that will happen from one point if possible,
Mhm.
but there are like dedicated points throughout the body that's like, oh, if that doesn't work, you can always try here. And if the fluid isn't necessarily hitting a place or another, you might have to make an incision there and carry on with it with another point. But as like autopsies, that's fully done by a medical examiner or doctor who does autopsies. That's a whole,
Right, right.
you know,
What do you how do you dispose of the biological material? Like, do you have I don't know,
for
company that
embalming
could take, well, like the blood, you
down
know?
the drain.
Oh, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, just down the drain, chemicals and
Right
all.
into the bay.
Yeah, right in the bag. you
And that
know,
was how it began.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny because like people can be really against having a crematorium put into their neighborhood, and
Mhm.
they'll fight it, and I don't want that in my neighborhood, and it's like, baby doll, do you know what's going into the water right here? Like, but that's it's very common. I don't think um, there's any other way to do it, really.
Right. Well, I would think that the only other way to do it would be if like you had some sort of like biohazard cleanup
Like a
that
whole
just
ass
went from,
tank.
yeah, that's what
You
I'm saying.
need
Like
like
it
a
went from home to home
turn.
and took it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
yeah, like a big ass truck
yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah. The
Yeah.
kind you don't want to see getting in accidents on,
Oh dear God.
right? Yeah.
Anyway, they just take it and dump it in the water. So.
Right. Yeah. Those are the blood pits. You know, you were born from the blood pits, and to the blood pits you will return.
That's gross.
Well, I was just talking to somebody the other day about Warhammer 40K, and I think the blood pits would fit really nicely into that whole milieu.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Any game that's got a chainsaw sword in it, I think blood pits would be a good one.
That's fair. That's
Mhm.
fair.
Right on. I think that's probably good. I'm trying to. I don't know where else to go with it really. But it's I love. I guess I think I love knowing having met you and as the Axl Rose, and you know, wonderful, amazing person, so dynamic, but also out of control in a weird way. And then this, like just watching you kind of come in, and you've still got all that, but it's this focused empathy that is just really amazing to see, and also very difficult for me to put myself into those shoes because like it's that I've never been really good with empathy. So it's really cool when people can do it and do it well and really be present. Um,
Well, thank you. I can't
no,
do it
no,
across the board. Empathy is it's it's important to have it. It's important to know when to turn it off. But
mhm,
I can be empathetic, but like they're definitely like people are like, oh, you can do that, you're a mortician, oh my god, you could do anything, and it's like, no, I really couldn't, because like if I did, like I worked in a crematory for a long time
mhm,
before I went into a traditional funeral home, and like I am grateful that it was all humans, because I genuinely don't think I could do pets.
right.
I genuinely don't. I really, like I just couldn't. I can sit down and I can talk to a person about losing their kid or losing their parent or their husband or whoever for an hour and a half, and I might get a little teary, or I might, we will have a lot of moments. But if
Mhm,
you start in with like, well, my dog, I'm like, just stop.
right.
I'll be sitting here in tears, we're not going to get anything accomplished. Like I just can't. That's, you kind of also got to know your spot,
Right.
know where it begins and ends. Because like I couldn't be a hospice nurse. Those people,
Yeah.
wow, like nurses in general, but like hospice nurses is a whole system of people on earth that like we don't deserve. We
Right.
don't deserve them. They're angels, for
Right.
lack of a term.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, can we talk a little bit about your experience at the crematory? Like, I mean, you were doing,
Yeah.
right?
No, I didn't really operate the machine very frequently. I trained on it. I eventually, no, I never finished. I didn't actually bother to get my license because I spent, again, like I'm a front of the house gal.
Hmm.
Like, I should be in the front. So I didn't really operate any of the machines. Yeah, just like some training stuff in
Hmm.
order to get certified, and then I didn't bother to get certified because I'm not going to be back here.
Right.
So,
Well, I
I'm
think
going to
knowing what you
be
can
sitting
do,
at the
and
table.
yeah, it's good being like knowing what you're built to do.
Hmm.
Certain things that like, yes, I understand that aspect of it. No, I cannot do it. So,
Yeah, I don't want to do it,
right.
like it's hot.
Well, yeah, I can see that
It's
would
really
definitely
hot.
be one of the
Yeah, and it's important,
Mhm.
you know, and I have the capacity to do it, but it's just, I think, you're called to what you're called to, and I'm called to like shepherding families through that bit, like
Mhm.
that little gap that spans between, someone has died and now I need someone to tell me what to do next. Like,
Right.
what do I do next? Like, I'm good at saying like, hey, I don't know about what you do about all your financial bullshit, but I can tell you that this stuff over here, here's where we can go.
Mhm.
Like that's just where I should be. That's what
Right.
I'm supposed to be doing, is helping people navigate the beginnings of their grief. Because like getting through that funeral, that's literally the beginning.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, it's a whole road of grief from there that's going to take a lot of turns. But I can't be there for all of that. But
No.
I can be there for this.
Hmm. Excellent. Well, thank you for doing this. But also, like, I don't know. Whenever I have these conversations with people, there's always a sense of, hey, I'm just so glad that you're out there and you're approaching what you do from such with such a clear head and from such an honest place. Like with the just a genuine, legit desire to help. I think that part of the reason I've been doing this is because the world is going to shit, and
No doubt.
I can't do a lot, but I with this, it was one of those things where it's like it's kind of cool to be able to hopefully remind at least a few people that society is people, and there are people that do stuff that I can't do, that we can't, lots of people can't do, and you know that's amazing, to carry that much weight. And I know that you have your
Yeah.
built for doing it, but it's still like it would sure suck to walk into a place like that and have it be like any other retail establishment, like, okay, well, now go here, now go here, this is what we're doing, and blah, 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 as opposed,
Yeah.
you're falling apart. So,
Yeah. And that unfortunately that does happen because, not everybody's good at their job,
mhm.
and not everybody, like I'm super super fucking lucky. I am one of the luckiest people on the face of the planet that I have the good fortune of having a job that's not really a job to me.
Mhm.
Like it's a vocation for me.
Right.
It's a calling for me. I'm supposed to be there doing what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And so for me, like, yeah, I go through, God damn it, I don't want to be here today. And man, I just want to call out. I'm so tired. And, I go through all the, like, just, it's still a job. It's still
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that I have to do to, feed myself and keep the roof over my head. But, it's something that I want to do in a place that I want to be,
Right.
And so I am so lucky that, like, I managed to find something that's fulfilling and meaningful, but also it helps because we do need to help each other.
Mhm.
Like nobody up top's gonna help us.
Right.
It's really just like me and you and our wives helping each other and helping our neighbors and all that corny shit. But that's literally the only way we're going to get through this because this is going to be really, really hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. And we need to be with it. I mean, fuck, man. It's been what, like
2 months.
two.
So you may notice an edit. That was because we just degenerated into talking like friends talk about many of the horrors in the world, and I don't really want this to be about that unless it makes sense. So, again, Celia, thank you so much, and I hope that people were, I hope you guys get something out of this because yeah, if you're ever in a situation, make sure you're take care of your funeral director. But just be aware
Be
of
friendly.
Hmm?
We're people too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't mean that in the mafia sense. Take care of.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But please don't interpret it that way. No, but yeah, like I'm so happy to see what you do, and yeah, who you are.
You know what, Stephen? I'm happy to see the same thing. I've had the good fortune of being on the other side where I've been able to watch, you grow in your art, and I've been able to be on that journey, and I have that journey like through my house where like, oh, this is a painting that I got this is my first one. Like I think
You have a lot.
the first one I got from you hangs in my bedroom, and and then I've got them everywhere. And, watching Donna in her career go and watching you guys as a team You know, it's an honor and a privilege to still be considered among the intimate friends. I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
You're stuck with us. We're not going anywhere.
You know, here you go. We'll confuse everybody. Like if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't even have my daughter.
That's true. You're welcome.
Thank you, good sir.
How many more would you like?
No, I'm good.
No, it's happening. So we'll give you between 5 and 10 more kids.
Oh, fuck. I don't know, man. It's got an awful lot of gray in there for 5 or 10.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, we look like old people now. We're all like the same age as
What happened? What happened?
Yeah.
Well, I love you.
Oh, I love you
a
too.
lot. And we'll talk very soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. All right.
All
Thank
right, babe. Yeah, bye.
Of a captain cursed to love not but the sea.